Hello, welcome to the Dream Stories channel. We are glad to see you on our next shocking story. Enjoy watching. I think this surgeon just charged us money and didn't do anything at all. The blonde lamented, looking at herself in the mirror. Anton only sighed. Oksana. Patiently began he, Sergey, the best rhinoplasty in the city, and all made very carefully. Tears appeared in the girl's eyes. Since the plastic surgery was only 3 weeks, but Oksana 100 times a day ran up to the mirror, critically examined his nose, and then got a loud upset. Here, look at yourself. Look. She pointed a finger at her reflection. Can you tell me what and how it has changed? The swelling hasn't gone down yet, Anton said tiredly, and the final result will be visible in a year. We've already talked about this. Please, don't be nervous. Well, she shrugged. One of the straps of her own shirt slipped off, exposing her round shoulder. It looked very tempting. Anton reached out to hug the girl, but she turned to the mirror again. I just thought it would make my nose look tiny, like a doll's. It doesn't suit everyone, honey. Trust Sergey. He's a real pro. The others don't work in my clinic. But I. She went on her rant about disappointment after going under the knife and suffering a painful postoperative period. Anton could feel the rage boiling inside him. He was already ready to fire Sergey, even though he understood that the surgeon was only to blame for doing everything flawlessly. But damn it, Oksana complained non-stop, and it would be better if Sergey gave up on aesthetics, facial proportions, other considerations, and just sawed off half of the stupid girl's nose. She would have been happy, and he, Anton, would not have had to comfort her for the 4th week in a row. He glanced at his watch. It's 9 o'clock. It was time to go, or his wife would go crazy with worry and start calling. He'd have to twist around like a frying pan, inventing convincing lies. Another hope for a pleasant evening in the company of Oksana was dashed. Again. I have to go, kitten, he said softly. Oksana waved her hand. Go. She was still meticulously studying herself in the mirror. Anton hurriedly threw on his jacket and went out, slamming the door behind him. Sometimes he regretted that he had ever gotten mixed up with this capricious girl. Oksana ran to the window just in time to see the man get into the car. Idiot, she muttered. The phone on the table had long been blaring a jovial song. The girl poked irritably at the reception. Yes? Hello, gorgeous. Jolly greeted a female voice. Why do not you answer? The blonde's face cleared. Ritulik. I'm just here. Well, this just got away. I'm fed up with him. I no longer have any strength, and after the plastic surgery it became unbearable. Every night he stops by. Worries about how I'm feeling, you know. And I already do not know where to get away from him. I complain that I do not like the result. The nose is not the same. Everything is not so, in general, stalling. He cares about you. My friend interrupted me. Do I need his care? Oksana asked dejectedly. I'm tired of him, I want to go out. What am I wasting my time here? He won't divorce me anyway. Rita laughed. Well, how much jewelry did he give you, eh? And the yacht? Do you know many men who give such gifts to their mistresses? And did you spend a penny on plastic surgery? Oksana nodded as if her friend could see her. That's right, Ritula, but I'm sick of it. And I'm scared. If he left me, what would I be left with? My nose. Exactly. And I'm sure he'll take the presents away. I know those men. But listen, I've got an idea. Tell me, have you ever seen Titanic? Well, with DiCaprio. Driving up to the house, Anton did not immediately get out of the car. In the windows he saw it, flashed the shadow of his wife. Surely now running from the kitchen to the living room, setting the table. How many times had he told her not to bother with the cooking? He could order food from a restaurant every day. Finances allowed. But his wife was a true homemaker. I love to get around in the kitchen, replied his wife. And then I enjoy cooking for you. Anton had only to throw up his hands and smile. But deep down, he was even glad. It always seemed to him that saying, I love you could be done in different ways. By giving a gift, by making dinner, or simply by asking him how he was doing. He knew that the woman he was married to loved him. Even after 20 years of their marriage in which things had happened. Poverty, fatigue, stress, 24-hour work, and then the ultimate test, money. Anton found his keys in his pocket and headed for the house. The door was ajar, which meant that his homely fairy had noticed him approaching. "Hello," he said in a loud voice. His wife looked out of the living room, walked over, and dug her nose into his neck. He closed his eyes and pulled her tighter against him. Her soft hair smelled magically of vanilla and something else. Chocolate? Cinnamon. "Wash your hands and hurry up and sit down to dinner," she chirped merrily. "Come on, it'll get cold." He sniffed happily at the smells from the living room. The woman was a culinary genius, if she'd thought of making a living at it. But she preferred family. Anton sometimes felt that he didn't deserve such a wife. They ate dinner together, telling each other how the day was going. Anton usually had more news, and his wife's news was small, but it was very sweet, cozy, like her and their whole house. He caught himself that he always found it very easy with his wife. They felt good together, no matter what they were doing. "I feel so good with you," he said aloud. "Talking, eating, watching movies, and sleeping, of course. I mean, even just sleep, you know." She answered him with a sly smile. "And not just sleep." That evening, Anton stretched out on the wide bed, but did not pick up a book as he usually did. His wife appeared on the threshold of the bedroom in a long translucent negligee, not a bit hiding a chiseled figure. Everything was in full view: her long, slender legs, graceful waist, and flat tummy. The brown hair was loose and covered her shoulders and chest. It was absolutely impossible to keep lying around with such beauty nearby. Anton stood up and picked his wife up in his arms. Oksana half lounged in the chair, wrapping a blonde strand around her finger. The dark-haired guy sitting on the carpet at her feet was frowning unhappily. "I don't like this," he said. "Either you're not making any sense, or you're not telling me everything." "What's wrong, Nikit?" The girl pulled herself up, sat up straight, looked him in the eyes. "I told you that you and I will leave here, and very soon. What else do you want to know?" "Details," Nikita said stubbornly. "Where will we go? When will it be? And if you decided to leave your money bag, why can't you leave now?" "Because," the girl touched her fingers lightly to his lips. They did not flinch. On the contrary, the boy pulled away, as if her touch was unpleasant to him. Oksana noticed this, but did not take her hand away from his face. "Not yet. We have to wait a little while. We're going to need money to live on, aren't we? So I'd want us to have it." "Well, just don't ask any questions yet, okay? You'll find out later, especially since I'll need your help." The concern on the guy's face changed to feigned horror. "You want me to kill him, beautiful?" he smirked. "There are no limits to a woman's guile." Oksana laughed. "Fie, why so rude?" In tone with him, she replied, "My idea is much more beautiful." Nikita looked at her suspiciously. "And if I think that you do not trust me? Why not? What are you," he went on, ignoring her question, "yapping about how we're going to be together, when all you really want is for me to help you?" "If I think so." He got up from the floor and went to the door. "Think what you want, I said it all," shouted Oksana. There were tears in her voice. Nikita turned around and snickered. "God forbid, if I think so. You'll have to fix your nose again then." He said it casually, without any threat in his voice. But it was this calm and mundane. Oksana was creepy. The morning promised to be wonderful. Anton kissed his sleeping wife, and trying not to make noise, left the bedroom. The cheerful rays of the May sun were already flooding the kitchen. He listened. The birds' cries outside the window did not stop for a moment, but it warmed his soul. Springtime, it was spring already. He wanted to call Oksana, tell her to wait, and stop by at least half an hour before work. It was not worth it. The old laughing, gentle Oksana, whom he had met 6 months ago, would have been happy to see him. But now, no. On the contrary, will complain about the fact that he pulled her out of bed early in the morning. Then again, raves about his nose. Strange how people change sometimes. Anton remembered immediately telling his mistress that he would never leave his wife. Oksana didn't seem at all upset. She wrapped her arms around his neck, stood on tiptoe, and whispered that she would still love him, and she did not need any stamp in the passport. How grateful he was for those words. 3 days later, Anton rented an apartment for his girlfriend in a great neighborhood. Oksana said that she didn't need anything, and she was quite satisfied with life in a Khrushchevka. But he, melting from her unselfishness, insisted on moving in. The girl never asked him for anything, so it was only a pleasure for Anton to shower her with gifts. Until he suddenly noticed that the more he cared for his mistress, the more capricious she became. She often complained of boredom, saying that she was never able to make friends in this posh neighborhood. More and more often Anton caught Oksana in a gloomy mood, and it was impossible to cheer her up. Neither gifts nor offers to go somewhere on vacation helped. She listened to him with a hard, unpleasant chuckle, and then Anton was bewildered and went away. The uncomplicated, easy romance he had been waiting for turned into a dreary chore. He would have gladly cut off the affair, which had become so exhausting, but he pitied the girl. He felt responsible because he had brought her to a beautiful life, and very much hoped that soon she herself would tell him about the breakup. Anton, without warning his girlfriend, bought the apartment where she lived. Let this be his parting gift. The phone in her pocket vibrated so suddenly that Anton flinched and grabbed the receiver. "Anton, come here," cried Oksana. She was choking on her sobs. "Come, please." "Quiet, quiet." He tried to speak softly, without raising his voice to make her listen. "What's the matter? Are you not well?" "The yacht," she was already shrieking hysterically. "The boat you gave me, Anton. It sank last night. I just got the call." "Anton, He laughed in relief. "And what the hell with it? The main thing is that no one was hurt. Well, really. I'll buy you another." "I like this one," sobbed the girl. "And now you can't get it back." All right, calm down," he said softly. "Take some valerian and go to sleep. I'll come and see you tonight, okay?" He passed out, and still smiling, pulled out his favorite orange mug from the shelf. "Is something wrong, Anton?" In the doorway stood his wife. Her hair, disheveled after their crazy night, fell on her shoulders and back in heavy waves. "What's the matter?" "Nothing," he mumbled, pretending to be busy looking for coffee. "It's Ninotchka, Sergey's assistant. You know how crazy she is. Her bag was snatched from her on the way to work, so she's crying now. I promised I'd buy her another one." "Ninotchka?" My wife stretched herself sweetly and yawned. "Ah, well, then it all makes sense." In the evening, Oksana was not at home. Anton, after hesitating at the door for a couple of minutes, remembered that he had a duplicate of the keys in his car. There was a resounding silence in the apartment. He grinned as he walked through the rooms and peeked into the kitchen. Oksanka had emptied all the cupboards and left not a single thing behind, but she thought it was overkill to clean up after herself. Quite in her spirit, Anton went outside, unable to figure out what he was really feeling, resentment or relief. He could not figure it out the next day, or 2 days later, or a week later, a month and a half later. Everything about the girl began to seem like a distant, half-forgotten dream. And at the same time, Anton wanted to hear from her. Not that he longed for her return. Life without Oksana had become calmer and much more pleasant. But he wanted to know that the girl was all right. When a woman's voice called out to him in the store, he turned around, almost certain he was about to see Oksana. But it turned out that it was not her. "Lisa, I think. You're a friend Oksana. You were at her birthday party," he remembered. "Exactly. And I thought you would not remember me." The girl was the opposite of Oksana. A small, slightly plump brunette with dark, shiny eyes. "How are things with Oksana?" Anton asked. "You probably know that we broke up." "Bet she left you," Lisa clarified sternly. He smiled embarrassedly. "Yes, she left. You just tell me, is everything all right? I'm worried about her." The girl rolled her eyes. "What good? What do you mean?" "She's working as a waitress in a roadside cafe." "You didn't know that." "She is. No, wait. You knew nothing?" "No." Anton was confused. "What happened?" Lisa looked at him long and silent. "Oksana," she said at last, "had it all planned. She wanted to escape with her diver Nikita and live on her own. The boat she sank on purpose, but along with her sent to the bottom of the box, which contained all of her jewelry. Nikita had to retrieve them, and he mumbled in shock, and he didn't want to share. He ran away with the treasured box, and he was the only one to be seen. And now, Oksanka was penniless, homeless, and loveless." Liza, as it seemed to Anton, said these words with obvious schadenfreude. "But why? Why didn't she just tell me that she wanted to break up? He asked. I wouldn't have minded. I even wanted to say goodbye to her. Why, Lisa? Just she was afraid, she shrugged, that all the gifts you will demand back. In the pawnshop, Nikita unlucky. Do not waste your and our time, young man, advised the appraiser. No matter what you say, it's not jewelry, it's just… What? The boy shouted. What do you think it is? Costume jewelry, was the imperturbable reply. It's pretty good, but it's certainly not what you're talking about. It contains no precious metals, nor any gems. Neither do any gemstones. Probably someone wanted to play a joke on you. Have a nice day. Liar. Nikita leaned over the counter. At the same moment, a heavy hand was slung on his shoulder. I beg you to leave the pawnshop, said the guard. Why should you be in trouble? He obeyed. The necklace, which turned out to be a worthless fake, Nikita angrily threw into the trash garbage can. Oksanka scammed him like a juvenile. It was all for nothing. Oh, how for nothing, he believed her. Greedy girl wanted to take everything for herself and led him on a false trail. She guessed he might not give her the tinsel. Say, what a fool she was pretending to be. She's got the real trinkets, there's no doubt about it. But where can we find her now? She is no longer in the city, that's for sure. Anton silently nodded to his wife and quickly went into his office. He needed at least a little time to be here alone. To think. Though there was nothing to think about, everything was clear as it was. A silly mercenary girl and a silly generous donkey. Such a hackneyed plot. Anton, my wife opened the door and peeked inside. Are you all right? No, not well, he answered, realizing that he shouldn't say that. But who else could he tell? Strangely enough, his wife had always been his closest friend. Come in. We need to talk. I feel bad for you, Rita. Is this about your sweetheart? His wife asked, and Anton jumped up and stared at his wife in disbelief. Did she know? Rita, I knew from the beginning. She answered the question her husband was hesitant to ask her. But forgive me, and don't take it for indifference. I had decided not to make a big deal out of it. Nature is nature. Hormonal upsurge comes and goes in family. It stays, and it's worth a lot more than any affair. Isn't that right? And you never once let it show. Why should I? So we could break up and say horrible, mean things to each other and end up divorced. The wife reached across the table and took her husband's hand. Her smile was warm, without a shadow of resentment. I love you, and I know that you have never stopped loving me either. Anton, I'm not a girl, and I may seem cynical, but it's such a small thing. Let's just forget it. It's not such a small thing, he grumbled. Rita quickly left the office and returned a few minutes later, holding a massive box. It's all here, she said, taking off the carved lid. Everything you gave me. It was the only mean thing I ever let myself do. You might even consider it my little feminine revenge. Oksana didn't know who I was, so it was easy for us to become friends. And swapping the jewelry for fake ones was easy too. Anton looked at the contents of the box, then at his wife, and laughed heartily. Thank you for your watching. See you next time.